You see, we've been sold a beautiful lie. Movies, books, songs, they all tell us that love conquers all. Find your soulmate, fall in love, and you'll live happily ever after. But how many of us have felt that deep ache of disappointment when reality doesn't match this fairy tale? How many of us have wondered why, despite having love in our lives, something still feels missing? Today, I want to share with you a truth that might shake your worldview, but I promise it will set you free. Love is not enough for happiness. Now, before you dismiss this as cynicism, let me be clear. Love is it's fundamental. It's one of the most powerful forces in the universe. But treating love as the only ingredient for happiness is like trying to bake bread with just flour. You need other essential elements to create something truly nourishing. Think about your own life for a moment. How many times have you loved someone deeply but felt frustrated, unfulfilled, or even unhappy? How many times has love been present in your life, yet peace has remained elusive? This isn't because there's something wrong with you or with love itself. It's because we've misunderstood what happiness really requires. Let me share something profound that changed my perspective forever. I once worked with a wise teacher who told me love is the foundation, but happiness is the house you build on top of it. Those words stayed with me because they perfectly capture what I've observed in thousands of lives, including my own. Love provides the ground we stand on, but we need other essential elements to create a life of genuine happiness. The first missing piece we often overlook is self-awareness. You see, many of us enter relationships believing that love will fix everything, that it will heal all our wounds and fill all our empty spaces. We pour our hearts into loving others, hoping it will make us whole. But here's the truth. Until we truly know ourselves, until we understand our own needs, fears, and patterns, even the most perfect love won't bring us lasting happiness. I remember counseling a successful businessman who had everything society tells us we should want: a loving family, a thriving career, material comfort. Yet he felt empty inside. "I've given them everything," he told me, referring to his wife and children. "I love them more than life itself. Why do I still feel this void?" The answer lay not in how much he loved them, but in how little he understood himself. He had never taken the time to explore his own inner world, to understand his own needs beyond the roles of provider and protector. Brings us to our second crucial element: personal growth. Love without growth is like a beautiful garden that nobody tends to. Eventually, it becomes overgrown with weeds. True happiness requires us to continuously evolve, to challenge our limitations, to expand our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. When we stop growing, we start dying, and no amount of love can compensate for the stagnation of the soul. How many relationships have you seen where two people love each other deeply but remain stuck in destructive patterns? They keep having the same arguments, facing the same challenges, feeling the same frustrations. Their love for each other is genuine and strong. But without personal growth, they're like two trees planted too close together. Their roots become entangled, and neither can reach their full potential. The third element we often miss is purpose. Love gives life meaning, yes, but purpose gives it direction. I've worked with countless individuals who had love in their lives but felt adrift, disconnected from any greater sense of purpose. They were like ships with strong anchors, but no destination. Secure. Let me share a powerful truth that might change how you think about happiness forever. Happiness isn't just about what we receive, even if what we're receiving is love. It's about what we create, what we contribute, how we grow, and who love is the energy that fuels us. But it's not the destination, it's the starting point. Think of happiness like a symphony. Love might be the main melody, but without harmony, rhythm, and other musical elements, you don't have a complete piece. You need all the components working together to create something truly beautiful. Similarly, lasting happiness requires multiple elements working in harmony. Love, yes, but also self-awareness, growth, purpose, authenticity, and connection to something greater than ourselves. Now, you might be wondering, if love isn't enough, what else do we need? This is where our journey together really begins. Over the next hour, I'm going to share with you the essential elements that, when combined with love, create lasting happiness. We'll explore why these elements are crucial, how they work together, and most importantly, how you can cultivate them in your own life. But before we dive deeper, I want you to take a moment right now. Close your eyes and think about the loves in your life. Whether it's romantic love, family love, friendship, or universal love. Feel the power of that love. Acknowledge its beauty and importance. What else might be missing from my equation of happiness? What other elements do I need to cultivate to create a truly fulfilling life? The journey we're about to embark on isn't about diminishing the importance of love. It's about expanding our understanding of what creates lasting happiness. It's about adding crucial ingredients to the recipe of a fulfilled. Because when we understand that love alone isn't enough, we free ourselves to explore and develop the other essential elements that contribute to genuine, sustainable happiness. Remember that couple I mentioned at the beginning? Their story doesn't end with tears in my office. As they began to understand that their love, while beautiful and real, needed to be complemented by other elements: personal growth, shared purpose, individual autonomy, and spiritual connection. Their relationship transformed. They didn't just love each other. They began to grow together, support each other's individual journeys, and create a shared vision for their future. Today, they don't just love each other, they're truly happy together. This is the kind of transformation I want to help you create in your own life. Are you ready to explore beyond love? Are you ready to discover the other essential elements that, when combined with love, create lasting happiness? Are you ready to build not just a foundation, but an entire house of happiness? Let's begin this journey together, understanding that while love is precious and essential, it's just the beginning of our path to true happiness. The real adventure lies in discovering what else we need to create a life that's not just full of love, but full of joy, purpose, and genuine fulfillment. Now that we understand that love alone isn't enough, let's explore the first crucial element that must accompany love for true happiness: self-awareness and personal sovereignty. This might seem counterintuitive in a world that tells us to lose ourselves in love, but hear me out. Imagine trying to drive a car without knowing how to operate it. You might have the most powerful engine in the world, but without understanding how to use the controls, you're not going anywhere. That's what love without self-awareness is like. We have this incredible force in our lives, but without understanding ourselves, we can't harness its power effectively. Self-awareness isn't just about knowing what makes you happy or sad. It's about understanding your patterns, your triggers, your deep-seated beliefs about love and happiness. It's about recognizing that while love can illuminate our path, we must be conscious of where we're walking. Let me share something powerful with you. Every time you say "I love you" to someone, you're actually making three distinct statements. First, you're saying this is who I am. Second, you're saying this is what I see in you. And third, you're saying this is what I'm willing to give. But how many of us truly understand all three components when we express our love? This brings us to personal sovereignty, the understanding that while love connects us, we must maintain our individual identity. Think of it like two strong trees growing side by side. They can intertwine their branches, share the same soil, even grow their roots together. But each tree must maintain its own core, its own strength, its own connection to the earth. Too often, we mistake dependency for love, sacrifice for devotion. We believe that to love fully means to give ourselves away completely. But here's a truth that might shake. The more you dissolve yourself in love, the less you actually have to give. True love requires two whole people, not two halves trying to make a whole. Purpose and meaning beyond relationships. Love can give our lives profound meaning, but it shouldn't be our only source of meaning. Think about the oxygen masks on airplanes. Why do they tell you to put on your own mask before helping others? Because you can't help anyone if you're not breathing yourself. Your purpose is your oxygen mask. It's what keeps you alive and vibrant, what gives you the strength to love more fully. Without it, love becomes a burden rather than a gift. When we expect love to be our everything, we crush it under the weight of our expectations. I've seen countless relationships crumble not from lack of love, but from lack of individual purpose. When we make another person our whole world, we create an unsustainable dynamic. No human being, no matter how wonderful, can be someone's entire reason for being. That's too heavy a burden for any relationship to bear. If love were suddenly removed from your life, and I pray it never is, what would remain? What other sources of meaning and purpose would sustain you? These aren't comfortable questions, but they're essential ones. This brings us to our third critical element, growth and continuous evolution. Love without growth is like a pond without fresh water. We must understand that true happiness requires us to constantly evolve, to push beyond our comfort zones, to challenge our assumptions about ourselves and the world. Growth isn't just about learning new things or developing new skills. It's about expanding our capacity to love, to understand, to forgive, to create. It's about becoming more of who we truly are, not just for ourselves, but for those we love. Think about the people you admire most. I bet they're not just loving individuals. They're growing, evolving beings who consistently challenge themselves to become better. They understand that love isn't a destination, but a journey of continuous expansion. The quality of your love is directly proportional to the quality of your growth. When you stop growing, your capacity to love deeply and authentically begins to diminish. You can't give what you don't develop within yourself. This leads us to another crucial understanding: the relationship between personal growth and collective happiness. When you commit to your own growth, you create a ripple effect that touches everyone around you. Your evolution becomes an invitation for others to evolve. Your courage to change becomes permission for others to change. But let's be honest, growth isn't always comfortable. It often requires us to face our shadows, to acknowledge our limitations, to step into uncertainty. This is where many people stop, preferring the comfort of familiar patterns to the challenge of evolution. But comfort rarely leads to happiness. It leads to complacency. Every significant breakthrough in your life likely came after a period of discomfort, after pushing beyond what felt safe and familiar. The same principle applies to love and happiness. To create lasting happiness, we must be willing to grow beyond our current understanding of both love and ourselves. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds good, but how do I actually do it? How do I maintain my sovereignty while deeply loving others? How do I pursue my purpose without neglecting my relationships? How do I keep growing when life gets comfortable? These are exactly the questions we need to be asking. Because happiness isn't found in easy answers. It's found in our willingness to wrestle with difficult questions. It's found in our courage to look beyond the surface of love to the deeper truths. That we move forward, I want you to consider this. What areas of your life have you neglected in the name of love? What parts of yourself have you set aside? What dreams have you postponed, not because love demanded it, but because you misunderstood what love requires? True happiness emerges when we understand that love is not about losing ourselves, but about expanding ourselves. It's not about sacrificing our dreams, but about creating space for both our dreams and our relationships to flourish. It's about recognizing that the more fully we develop ourselves, the more we have to offer those we love. Remember, love is not a finite resource that gets depleted when we invest in ourselves. On the contrary, self-investment multiplies our capacity to love. When we grow, our love grows. When we evolve, our relationships evolve. When we expand our purpose, we expand our ability to contribute to others' happiness. The more we develop ourselves beyond love, the more capable of profound love we become. The more we invest in our growth, our purpose, our sovereignty, the more genuine happiness we can create and share with others. Are you ready to explore even deeper? Are you prepared to discover how these elements weave together to create a tapestry of lasting happiness? Because what we've discussed so far is just the foundation. The real magic happens when we learn to integrate all these elements into a coherent whole. Let's dive into something profound that most people miss when thinking about love and happiness: our connection to something greater than ourselves. You see, when we limit our understanding of love to just human relationships, we're like someone standing in front of an ocean, but only looking at a single wave. There's a dimension of happiness that transcends personal love, that goes beyond our relationships with others. It's the connection to what I call the universal intelligence, that infinite field of possibility that surrounds and flows through all of us. Some call it God, others call it the universe, and still others call it consciousness. The name isn't important. What matters is recognizing that we're part of something vast and magnificent. Think about a moment when you felt completely at peace, totally aligned with life. Maybe it was watching a sunset or walking in nature or experiencing a moment of profound silence. In these moments, you weren't thinking about love in the conventional sense. You weren't focused on relationships or personal connections. Yet you felt completely fulfilled, utterly content. That's because you were tapping into this universal dimension of happiness. This connection to something greater than ourselves is crucial because it provides context for all our other experiences, including love. When we understand that we're part of something larger, our personal loves and relationships take on new meaning. They become expressions of this universal love, rather than its sole source. The happiest people I've ever met aren't just those who love deeply. They're those who feel deeply connected to life itself. They understand that happiness isn't just about what we receive from others or even what we give to others. It's about our relationship with existence itself. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to radiate happiness, regardless of their circumstances? They might face the same challenges as everyone else, experience the same disappointments, deal with the same relationship issues, but something about them remains unchanged. That's because they've tapped into this deeper dimension of happiness. This brings us to a crucial understanding about the relationship between love, happiness, and spiritual connection. When we're connected to something greater than ourselves, we stop demanding that our relationships fulfill all our needs. We stop expecting other people to be our everything. Instead, we allow our relationships to be what they naturally are, beautiful expressions of connection in the grand tapestry of life. But here's where many spiritual seekers go wrong. They think they need to choose between human love and spiritual connection. They believe they must renounce personal relationships to find higher happiness. This is a fundamental misunderstanding. The goal isn't to transcend human love, but to enrich it with spiritual awareness. When you're standing on a mountain peak, you don't lose sight of the valley below. You see it in a broader context. Similarly, when you connect with something greater than yourself, you don't lose your capacity for personal love. You love more freely because you're no longer loving from need, but from abundance. This brings us to another crucial element of happiness that transcends love, the understanding of our essential nature. When we realize that happiness isn't something we need to acquire, but rather our natural state, when all obstacles are removed, everything changes. We stop searching for happiness in relationships and start removing the barriers to experiencing the happiness that's already there. Every single person in this room is already complete. You're not missing anything. You don't need more love, more success, more achievements to be whole. What you need is to remove the barriers that prevent you from experiencing your inherent completeness. And one of the biggest barriers is the belief that love alone will make you happy. This understanding leads us to a revolutionary approach to relationships. Instead of seeking happiness through love, we bring our happiness to love. Instead of expecting relationships to fulfill us, we come to them already fulfilled. This doesn't make love less special. It makes it more special because it's no longer burdened with the responsibility of making us happy. When you no longer need someone to make you happy, you're free to love them purely, without conditions or expectations. When you're connected to something greater than yourself, you can allow others to be exactly who they are without trying to change them to meet your needs. This is true love, love that springs from freedom rather than need. But let's be practical about this. How do we maintain this connection to something greater while living in the real world with real relationships and real challenges? The answer lies in daily practices that remind us of our larger context. These might be moments of silence, time in nature, meditation, prayer, or simply conscious breathing. The form doesn't matter as much as the intention. To remember that we're part of something vast and meaningful. Here's an exercise I want you to try right now. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine expanding your awareness beyond your personal concerns, beyond your relationships, Beyond your immediate, feel yourself as part of the infinite field of life. Notice how this shift in perspective already changes your state of being. Now, from this expanded awareness, think about someone you love. Notice how different this feels from thinking about them from a place of need or attachment. This is the difference between love as a strategy for happiness and love as an expression of happiness. That brings us to another crucial understanding. The more connected we are to something greater than ourselves, the more authentic our human connections become. When we're grounded in this larger context, we stop using relationships as escape routes from our own emptiness. Instead, relationships become opportunities to share our inherent fullness. But here's the challenge. Maintaining this awareness in daily life. It's one thing to feel it in moments of reflection or spiritual practice, another to carry it into our interactions, our challenges, our conflicts. This is where the real work begins. The key is to develop what I call spiritual stamina, the ability to maintain our connection to something greater, even when life gets difficult. This isn't about escaping into spiritual bypassing or denying our human experiences. It's about bringing spiritual awareness into every aspect of life, including our struggles. Think about times in your life when love wasn't enough, when despite having loving relationships, you still felt unfulfilled. Now imagine approaching those same situations from this expanded awareness. How would it change your experience? How would it affect your relationships? It's not about accumulating more love, more relationships, more connections. It's about expanding our consciousness to embrace all of life. The joy and the pain, the love and the loss, the connections and the solitude. When we can do this, we discover a happiness that's unshakable because it's not dependent on external circumstances or relationships. Are you beginning to see how all these pieces fit together? How love, while essential, is just one part of a larger picture of happiness? Are you ready to explore how we can practically apply these understandings in daily life? Because what we're about to discuss next will transform how you approach both love and happiness now that we understand the essential elements that must accompany love for true happiness. Let's explore how to weave them together into a practical, living wisdom that you can apply every day. Because understanding these truths intellectually isn't enough. We need to embody them, to live them, to make them real in our daily experiences. Let's start with what I call the integration practice. This is a daily commitment to bringing together all the elements we've discussed: love, self-awareness, purpose, growth, and spiritual connection. Think of it like conducting an orchestra. Each instrument is beautiful on its own, but true magic happens when they all play in harmony. The first step in this practice is what I call conscious awakening. Each morning, before you dive into the demands of the day, take a moment to connect with your deeper self. This isn't about lengthy meditation or complicated rituals. It's about asking yourself 3 simple but profound questions. Who am I beyond my relationships? What am I here to contribute today? How can I grow in this moment? These questions activate your self-awareness, connect you with your purpose, and open you to growth opportunities. They remind you that while love is precious, it's not your only source of meaning and fulfillment. Next, we practice what I call sovereign love. This means loving others while maintaining your personal truth. Throughout the day, whenever you interact with loved ones, check in with yourself. Are you loving from freedom or from need? Are you giving from abundance or from emptiness? Are you being true to yourself while being there for others? Every time you compromise your authenticity in the name of love, you diminish both your happiness and the quality of your love. Real love doesn't require you to become less. It invites you to become more. But let's address something crucial: the fear that maintaining your sovereignty might hurt those you love. Many of us worry that being true to ourselves means being selfish or uncaring. Nothing could be further from the truth. When you honor your authentic self, you actually become more capable of genuine love, not less. Would you rather be loved by someone who's compromising themselves to please you, or by someone who's fully alive in their truth? Would you rather have half of someone while the other half slowly dies inside? or have all of someone who's fully expressed and alive. This brings us to another practical tool, what I call purpose anchoring. Throughout your day, especially when you feel overwhelmed by relationship challenges or emotional demands, reconnect with your larger purpose. What am I here to create? What unique contribution am I meant to make? This isn't about diminishing your relationships. It's about maintaining perspective. When you're anchored in purpose, relationship challenges don't devastate you. Love remains important, but not all-consuming. You maintain the emotional stability needed for both personal happiness and healthy relationships. Now let's talk about practical growth. Many people think personal growth requires dramatic changes or major life overhauls. But real growth happens in small, consistent choices. Every time you choose consciousness over reaction, truth over people-pleasing, purpose over comfort, you grow. For the next week, whenever you feel emotionally triggered in a relationship, pause and ask yourself, what part of me needs to grow here? What understanding am I being invited to develop? This simple practice transforms relationship challenges into growth opportunity. But growth isn't just about overcoming challenges. It's about expanding your capacity for joy, for contribution, for love itself. Each day, ask yourself, how can I love more skillfully? How can I give more authentically? How can I receive more gracefully? This brings us to what I call spiritual grounding, the practice of maintaining connection to something greater than yourself while engaging in everyday life. This isn't about escaping into spiritual abstractions. It's about bringing spiritual awareness into practical reality throughout your day, especially during stressful moments. Practice what I call the expansion breath. Take a deep breath and imagine your awareness expanding beyond your personal concerns to connect with the larger field of life. Feel yourself as part of something vast and meaningful. Notice how this shift in perspective immediately changes your emotional state. Now let's address something crucial, the integration of all these elements in challenging times. It's relatively easy to maintain these practices when everything's going well. The real test comes during difficulties, especially relationship challenges. I call it the wholeness response. When you're feeling upset, hurt, or challenged in a relationship, instead of immediately reacting, take a moment to touch base with all aspects of yourself. What's my truth in this moment? Touch your purpose. What really matters here? What can I learn from this? Nexus universal awareness. What does this look like from a larger perspective? This practice doesn't deny your feelings or invalidate your concerns. Instead, it helps you respond from wholeness rather than reactivity. It allows you to love more wisely, grow more consciously, and maintain your happiness even in challenging circumstances. Every relationship challenge is actually three opportunities in one: an opportunity to love more deeply, to know yourself more fully, and to connect with something greater than both. When you approach challenges with this understanding, they become doorways to greater happiness rather than threats to your well-being. Let's talk about practical balance. Many people swing between extremes, either losing themselves in relationships or isolating themselves in the name of personal growth. The key is to find what I call dynamic state, where love, growth, purpose, and spiritual connection all support and enhance each other. At the end of each day, ask yourself, did I love authentically today? Did I honor my purpose? Did I embrace opportunities for growth? Did I maintain my connection to something greater? If you find yourself consistently saying no to any of these questions, it's time to adjust your approach. Remember, true happiness isn't about perfection. It's about conscious, continuous integration of all these elements. This brings us to another crucial practice, what I call conscious completion. Each evening before you sleep, take a moment to acknowledge how all aspects of your life, your relationships, your purpose, your growth, your spiritual connection, have served your happiness today. This practice helps you maintain perspective and prevents any single aspect of life from becoming overly dominant. But perhaps the most important practice of all is what I call compassion and honesty. This means being truthful with yourself and others about what you're experiencing, while maintaining kindness and understanding. It means acknowledging when love alone isn't enough, when you need to focus on growth, when you need to reconnect with purpose, when you need to deepen your spiritual connection. Are you beginning to see how all these practices weave together? How they support each other to create a tapestry of sustainable happiness? Are you ready to explore the final piece, how to maintain these practices over the long term and create lasting transformation in your life? As we approach the conclusion of our time together, let's address the question that's probably forming in your minds. How do we sustain these practices over the long term? How do we prevent ourselves from falling back into the pattern of expecting love alone to make us? The answer lies in what I call sustainable integration. The art of making these practices so natural that they become your default way of being. This isn't about forcing yourself to follow a rigid system. It's about allowing these understandings to transform you from the inside out. Let's acknowledge something important. There will be times when you forget everything we've discussed today. Times when you fall back into old patterns, when you expect love alone to fulfill you, when you lose touch with your purpose, when your growth stagnates, when your spiritual connection feels distant. This is not failure, it's part of the journey. The key is not perfection, but recovery. How quickly can you recognize when you've lost your balance? How gracefully can you return to these practices? This is where what I call compassionate awareness becomes crucial. Instead of beating yourself up when you fall into old patterns, use these moments as opportunities for deeper integration. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. In the beginning, you had to consciously think about every aspect, balancing, pedaling, steering, but with practice, it became natural. You no longer had to think about it. The same thing happens with these practices. What feels challenging now will eventually become your natural way of being. Let's talk about overcoming common obstacles. One of the biggest challenges people face is what I call love addiction. The deeply ingrained habit of looking to relationships for all our fulfillment. Breaking this pattern requires constant vigilance and regular recommitment to your larger vision of happiness. Every time you catch yourself expecting love to be enough, every time you notice yourself making a relationship your everything, you have an opportunity to choose differently. You have a chance to reconnect with all the other elements that create lasting happiness. Another common obstacle is what I call growth resistance. Even when we know we need to grow beyond our current patterns, part of us clings to the familiar. This is where courage comes in. The courage to choose evolution over comfort, truth over security, wholeness over fragments. But here's something beautiful about this journey. As you continue to practice these principles, you create what I call positive momentum. Each small success builds upon the last. Each moment of choosing wholeness over dependency, purpose over comfort, growth over stagnation makes the next choice easier. Every time you maintain your sovereignty while loving deeply, you strengthen your capacity for authentic love. Every time you stay connected to your purpose while nurturing relationships, you build your ability to live with meaning. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you expand your capacity for happiness. This brings us to what I call the ultimate integration. The point where love, purpose, growth, and spiritual connection no longer feel like separate practices, but merge into one unified expression of life. This doesn't mean you never face challenges. It means you face them from a place of wholeness. What would your life look like if you no longer expected love alone to make you happy? If you could love freely, purposefully, growthfully, while maintaining your connection to something greater. This isn't just a pleasant fantasy, it's a real possibility available to each of you. But to reach this level of integration, you must be willing to question everything you've been taught about love and happiness. You must be willing to step beyond the cultural myths that tell you love is enough. You must be willing to embrace a more complete, more challenging, but ultimately more fulfilling vision of happiness. Here's what I know with absolute certain. The happiness you seek isn't waiting for you in the perfect relationship. It's waiting for you in the perfect integration of all these elements we've discussed. It's waiting for you in the courage to love without dependency, to grow without fear, to live with purpose, to maintain your spiritual connection in the midst of everyday life. As we come to the end of our time together, I want to leave you with what I call the 3 commitments. These are promises you make not to someone else, but to your own highest potential. First, commit to loving wisely. Neither losing yourself in love nor closing yourself off from it, but finding that sacred balance where love enhances rather than diminishes you. Second, commit to growing consciously, using every experience, especially relationship challenges, as opportunities for evolution rather than excuses for stagnation. Third, commit to living purposefully, never allowing any relationship, no matter how precious, to become a substitute for your unique contribution to life. Remember this moment. Remember this feeling of possibility, this glimpse of a greater happiness that doesn't depend solely on love, but emerges from the harmony of all aspects of your being. Remember that you're not just here to love and be loved. You're here to grow, to contribute, to connect with something vast and meaningful. The journey ahead isn't always easy. There will be times when you forget these truths, times when you fall back into old patterns, times when love seems like it should be enough. In those moments, remember this day. Remember that happiness isn't about finding the perfect love. It's about becoming whole. As you leave here today, take with you not just these ideas, but a new vision of possibility. A vision of happiness that's richer, deeper, and more sustainable than anything love alone could provide. A vision of life where love is essential but not sufficient, where relationships enhance rather than define you, where happiness emerges from the integration of all aspects of your being. The choice is yours now. Will you continue to expect love alone to fulfill you? Or will you embrace this greater vision of happiness? Will you remain bound by cultural myths about love? Or will you step into a more complete understanding of what creates lasting joy? I believe in your capacity to create this deeper happiness. I believe in your ability to love freely while maintaining your sovereignty, to grow continuously while nurturing relationships, to live purposefully while staying connected to something greater. The time has come to step beyond the limitation of believing that love alone is enough. The time has come to embrace a more complete, more authentic, more sustainable vision of happiness. The time has come to begin your journey toward true integration. Are you ready? Are you willing? Are you committed to creating this deeper happiness in your life? The journey begins now with your next choice, your next breath, your next moment of conscious awareness. Love is beautiful. Love is precious. Love is essential. But love alone is not enough. True happiness awaits you in the perfect integration of all that you are. May you have the courage to pursue it, the wisdom to create it, and the joy of experiencing it fully in your life. Thank you. And may your journey toward complete happiness begin today.